For 10 years, I cooked their meals, raised their kids, and cleaned every corner of that house. I never asked for anything in return. Then, after I hurt my back, they tossed me out like I didn't matter. My own family called me a burden. I ended up living in a tent, completely forgotten. But when they discovered I had secretly won $2 million, suddenly they all wanted me back. What they didn't know was I wasn't the same woman they threw away. Before I tell you what happened next, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. If you already have, thank you so much. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. The eggs burned again that morning, but I still put them on plates, hoping no one would notice. Because if I had to hear Melissa complain about runny yolks one more time, I might actually scream. From upstairs, David yelled, "Mom, did you switch the laundry? No good morning, no hello." I was already reaching for the next load. Logan, who at 14 acted like a little dictator, dropped his empty bowl on the counter without even looking at me. "We're out of cereal." I bit my tongue. "I just bought a bag yesterday," I said. "It's already gone," Madison mumbled, eyes glued to her phone, legs kicked up on the table. I didn't even ask how that was possible. I moved around the house like a ghost in sneakers, packing bags, folding blankets Melissa always left on the couch, refilling the coffee pot she never thanked me for. 12 years I had been doing this. 12 years since my husband died, when I moved in just to help for a year or two while they got back on their feet with the twins. That was the plan. But 1 year turned into over a decade of babysitting, cooking, paying bills, selling my car to cover heating costs, even cashing out part of my pension for their mortgage. Every time I mentioned leaving, David would say, "Mom, we need you. It's just not a good time." And I believed him. Told myself they cared. They were just stressed, busy, distracted. That morning, as I wiped down the counters, I overheard David on the phone. "Yeah, she's still here. Basically like live-in. Help, takes care of the place, cooks, babysits, yeah, it's convenient." He laughed like I was some appliance in the house. My hand froze on the sponge. Then Melissa's voice floated in from the hallway. "We'd be drowning without her. But let's be real, she's not going anywhere. What else would she do?" I stood in the pantry, heart racing, ears burning. They didn't see me as family. I was just handy. Later, as I folded towels, I tried to shake it off. Maybe I misunderstood. But then Logan shouted from the living room, "Grandma, where's my other cleat?" When I didn't answer right away, he snapped, "You had one job." Melissa added, "He has practice in 20 minutes. Can you get it together?" I brought the shoe, then went back to folding, my legs aching, my back tight. My hands trembled again, the same tingling I'd been feeling for weeks. Some days I had to hold the sink just to stay upright after cleaning. But I kept pushing myself. I always did. When they finally left, I sat down with my cold toast, enjoying the silence for the first time that day. The clock read 8:53 a.m. My day hadn't even begun, and I already felt drained. And that was the first time in over 10 years I let myself whisper the truth. They don't love me, they just use me. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Can you pick up the dry cleaning?" "No please, no thank you. Just another order." I stood up, knees popping, heart heavy. The worst part wasn't realizing they didn't appreciate me. The worst part was knowing I had let it happen. Halfway up the stairs, dragging the vacuum behind me, my legs suddenly gave out. I crashed down hard, the vacuum banging against the steps so loud I thought someone would rush over, but no one came. David kept laughing at the TV. Melissa scolded Logan about screen time, and Madison shouted back that she didn't care. I tried, calling out, but my voice cracked. My back screamed with pain. My legs felt numb. But I forced myself up, limping down the stairs with the vacuum like nothing happened. "You okay, Mom?" David glanced at me, barely interested. "Just tripped," I said with a fake smile. He didn't even mute the TV. Melissa didn't look up from her phone. "Can you still clean the upstairs bathroom?" she asked. "And the baseboards too." And just like that, my pain didn't matter. My voice didn't matter. I didn't matter. "Grandma, my laundry stinks. Can you redo it?" Madison called from the hallway. Logan didn't even pause before adding, "And the baseboards are getting dusty." I nodded like a fool and went right back to scrubbing toilets. Even though my knees throbbed and my fingers tingled so badly I could barely grip the sponge, I knew I should stop. But I didn't. I couldn't. I'd been there 12 years of wiping their messes, packing lunches, driving kids everywhere, giving up my pension, even selling my car, because David once said the insurance cost too much. I never argued. I told myself it was love, that they needed me, that I mattered. But something inside me cracked that week. 2 nights later, it happened again. My legs gave out in the kitchen while I was holding a pot of boiling water. I crashed to the floor, wrists burning, hot water splashing across the tiles. Melissa's shoes stopped in the doorway. She just stared. "What happened?" she asked, flat as ever, like I'd dropped a spoon. My jaw was locked too tight to answer. David didn't take me to the ER until hours later after he finished watching his game. By then, my wrists were bandaged, my legs felt useless, and the doctor's words echoed in my head like a knife. Spinal compression, maybe rehab, maybe not walking at all. "So, how long till you're walking again?" David asked when he showed up. Melissa didn't even sit down. Madison had earbuds in. Logan played a game on his phone. I told them what the nurse said. Melissa crossed her arms. "Our house isn't really set up for a wheelchair," she said. David nodded. "And the kids, they're busy. They can't really help." I looked at them one by one. "You want me to stay somewhere else?" Melissa avoided my eyes. "You'll get better care in a facility," she said. David added, "We'll visit, maybe on weekends." Then they left. No hug, no plan, no real concern. Just gone. The next morning, a nurse wheeled me to the hospital lobby and waited. "They said they'd pick you up," she explained. I called David. No answer. Called again. Voicemail. Melissa finally picked up. "We're really swamped today. Maybe tomorrow." Click. I sat in that lobby for 3 hours before a social worker called a shelter. The driver didn't say much, but I caught him looking at me in the rearview mirror like I was pitiful. I wasn't pitiful. I was angry. But I held the tears until I laid down on the shelter cot that creaked every time I moved. The air thick with the smell of old socks and bleach. Lying there, staring at the cracked ceiling, all I could see was David laughing on that couch while I lay at the bottom of the stairs, waiting for someone to care. That was the moment I knew the chaos was only beginning. The days blurred, my wrists ached, my back burned. But worse than all of it was the silence. No calls, no messages, not even a "how are you?" 30 days passed in that shelter. The showers were cold, the nights were loud, but I tried to keep my dignity. I folded my clothes neatly each morning, kept my corner clean, and even helped 2 women with their paperwork. But my mind circled back to David and Melissa, over and over. One morning, the woman in the bunk beside me nudged me with her phone. "Is this your family?" My heart froze. On her screen was a Facebook post. Melissa smiling in a resort pool with a margarita. Logan doing flips off a hotel diving board. Madison holding a sign that read "Best spring break ever." The caption, "Much needed family getaway. #blessed. #family first." I nearly dropped the phone. That night, I scrolled and found more. A video of Logan limping around, mocking me. "Where's Grandma? Oh wait, Rahab kicked her out." Madison laughed in the background. My cheeks burned hot. "They think I'm a joke," I whispered. The next morning, I sat in the shelter's common room filling out forms for disability and housing help. A staff member, Renee, sat beside me. "You've got no one?" she asked gently. "No one worth calling," I said. That was the first time I admitted it out loud. Renee helped me finish the paperwork and even found a lead on temporary housing. I thanked her, hands shaking, eyes dry for once. That night, I pulled out a notebook. I wrote down every memory that still hurt. Every time Melissa called me lazy. Every time David ignored my pain. Every time the kids used me like I was their servant. I wasn't just journaling. I was building a case. They had thrown me out like garbage while sipping cocktails in paradise. And I decided I wouldn't let them get away with it. I was done playing the maid. I was done being quiet. The next morning, as I waited for my ride to the housing office, my phone buzzed. A message from David. "Hey Mom, we've been thinking about you. Can we talk?" My stomach twisted. My heart pounded. They didn't miss me, they missed something else, and I was going to find out exactly what. At first, I didn't even reply. I just stared at the screen, wondering if answering would mean I was still desperate enough to let them pull me back in. But curiosity got the better of me. I finally typed, "What do you want to talk about?" His reply came fast. "Can we meet for coffee?" I agreed. Not because I wanted to see them, because I needed to know. He chose a diner near their house. like nothing had ever changed. When I wheeled myself inside, he looked up from his phone, gave me a weak smile, and said, "You look good, Mom." I ignored the lie. "Say what you came to say." He cleared his throat. "Melissa and I were thinking, you've got good credit, right?" My stomach dropped. "What's this about, David?" He shifted in his seat. "We're trying to refinance the house, just for a short while. If you could co-sign." A sharp laugh burst out of me. "You kicked me out, and now you want my signature." He leaned forward, his voice soft. "You were never kicked out. It was just a misunderstanding." I stared at him, my chest burning. "You abandoned me at the hospital, David." He sighed. "We didn't have a choice, okay? It was a tough time." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood, and spring break in Florida. That looked tough. His face twitched. "The kids needed a reset." I shook my head. "You didn't come here to apologize. You came here to use me again." He reached for my hand. "Mom, please, if the bank just sees your name." I pulled back. "No." He blinked. "Just like that. Just like that," I said, my voice steady, even though inside I was screaming. His tone went cold. "Don't forget who took you in after Dad died." I tried to stand, but my body reminded me what it had lost. Still, I met his eyes. "Don't forget who kept your house running for 12 years while you sat on the couch." He said nothing. I rolled myself out, hands trembling, but my chest filled with fire. Outside, I called Renee. "You were right. They're not done using me. But I'm done being useful to them." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "Want to come by the office? I've got something for you." That meeting didn't break me. It lit a match under everything I'd buried. When I arrived, Renee slid a stack of papers across her desk. "You're going to want to look at this carefully." I flipped through the pages. My name, my social security number, my old bank account, withdrawals, transfers, signatures I didn't recognize. "What is this?" I whispered. Renee's voice softened. "Your son had access, right?" My throat went dry. "Years ago, after my husband died, David said he'd help manage things while I settled in." She nodded. "Looks like he never stopped." The numbers blurred before my eyes. 800 here, 200 there, huge chunks while I was in the hospital. He drained it. My voice cracked. "There's no easy way to say it," Renee said. "It's gone." I sat back, lightheaded. That was everything I had. My savings, my retirement, my safety net, gone. Renee touched my hand gently. "You need to report this." "He's my son," I whispered. Exactly why he thought he could get away with it. I stared up at the ceiling tiles, the light flickering above me. Every memory rushed, back skipping doctor appointments, selling my car, folding their laundry, covering their bills. How blind had I been? I pulled out my phone and called David. He answered on the second ring. "Hey Mom, everything okay?" "You took my savings," I said, my voice shaking. He laughed. "What? No, that account was just sitting there. I thought it was for the family." "You forged my name," I snapped. Silence. Then, "Look, let's not make a big deal." My voice rose. "I have nothing because of you." He exhaled, annoyed. "You're overreacting. We've all had to make sacrifices." "I made sacrifices," I said, fire burning in my chest. "You stole," he scoffed. "Come on. You lived with us rent-free for years. You worked like a servant." "Yeah, but you got a roof. We covered you," I snapped. "While you laughed, while you spent, while you took vacations on my back." His voice went cold. "If you go to the police, don't expect to hear from us again." I hung up. I didn't want to hear from them again. I sat in Renee's office, shaking, and then, slowly, something inside me calmed. The kind of calm you get when you realize you've hit bottom and the only way left is up. "Let's file the report," I said. "Every paper, every signature, all of it. I'm not protecting him anymore." Renee gave me a slow nod, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was finally protecting myself. I was done being quiet. The next morning, as I folded laundry at the housing center, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. "Mrs. Margaret Taylor?" a man asked. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is James Keller. I'm an estate lawyer. We've been trying to reach you. Do you remember buying a power lottery ticket back in January?" My heart skipped. "Yes, that ticket was never claimed. Our system flagged your old debit card. Mrs. Taylor, you won $2 million. I sank into a chair. "That can't be. It's real. Once we verify, the money is yours." I didn't sleep that night. After losing everything, suddenly I had everything. I told no one except Renee. Her jaw dropped. What will you do? She asked. First, get it in my account. Then decide. A week later, it cleared. My balance lit up the screen. I couldn't breathe. I didn't spend a dime. I waited. And just like I knew they would, David texted, "Hey Mom, we heard something. Can we talk?" They knew. I ignored him. But soon, they showed up at the shelter dressed too nice, looking out of place. "What are you doing here?" I asked. David forced a smile. "We just wanted to check on you," Melissa added. "We've been worried." I laughed, bitter. "You dumped me here like garbage. Now you're worried." They wanted privacy, so I led them outside. "We heard about the money," David finally admitted. "Of course," Melissa didn't even blink. "We just want what's fair. You lived with us for years." "Fair," I snapped. "I cooked, cleaned, babysat. I paid your bills when David was jobless, and you left me in a hospital bed alone." Melissa's face hardened. "You owe us." "I owe you," I said coldly. "I learned to survive in the cold. You should start practicing." David's face flushed. "Don't do this." "No," I said. "You already did." They left in silence, watching their car drive away. I expected to feel strong. Instead, I felt hollow. Back inside, Renee caught my eye, gave me a small nod. I tried to sit, but the front desk buzzed again. "Mrs. Taylor, someone else is here for you." And when I saw who walked through that door, I knew the worst wasn't over. There was laughter inside the house. Loud, careless laughter, the kind that twists your gut when you know you're not welcome. "Slow down," I told the driver. Through the window I saw balloons, music, food laid out on the table, and a banner. Madison posed for a selfie beside a cake that read "New Beginnings." Something inside me cracked. "You sure this is the right address?" the driver asked. I nodded. My voice was gone, trapped between my ribs. I told him to keep driving. Walking or rolling into that house wouldn't fix anything. It would only humiliate me more. I called David. "Are you having people over?" He hesitated. "Oh, it's just a small thing. Melissa's friends. Nothing big. A cake that says New Beginnings. Nothing big." "So, you're celebrating." "I'm gone," I said. "Mom, don't make this into something it's not. I'm in a shelter, David, wearing donated clothes, sleeping on a cot that's giving me sores. And you're eating cake in my kitchen." His voice snapped. "It's not your kitchen anymore, Mom. You gave that up when you couldn't help." I hung up. My hand shook so hard the phone nearly slipped. "You want me to take you somewhere else?" the driver asked softly. "Anywhere," I whispered. That night, lying awake on the cot, I thought of every floor I scrubbed, every fever I nursed, every braid I wove into Madison's hair. I thought of the day I sold my wedding ring to save their mortgage. David had hugged me then and said, "You're a blessing to us, Mom." Now I was nothing but a burden. I stared at the ceiling. "I won't stay down," I whispered. Not sadness, anymore. Something sharper. The shelter was quiet until I heard heels clicking on the tile. When I looked up, I froze. Melissa stood there, arms crossed, purse tight at her side. The last person I expected. "We need to talk," she said. I stayed still, silent, let her squirm. Finally she sat across from me, eyes darting at the peeling walls, the women watching from the hallway. "David doesn't know I'm here." "Then why are you?" I asked. She shifted. "Maybe we could move forward. Civil, respectful. The kids miss you." I almost laughed. "Respectful? You kicked me out like trash. You threw a party when I was gone." "It wasn't like that," she snapped. "Then explain it." She looked down. "You being there was a lot. It felt like the house wasn't mine." "It never was," I said coldly. "I paid for it, cleaned it, raised your children in it." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. "That's not fair." I leaned in. "What isn't fair is watching a woman beg to do laundry with numb hands and still being asked to make popcorn afterward." For a moment, she said nothing. Then with a sigh, "You were falling apart, and we didn't know how to help. You didn't even try." The silence thickened. She picked at her nails, then whispered, "David's been different since you left, angry, blaming me." I folded my arms. "You don't get to feel sorry now. You wanted me gone. Now you've got it." Her eyes finally met mine. "I came to tell you something. He filed papers for guardianship of your medical decisions." My heart dropped like an anchor. "What he's trying to get control. Says you're not stable, that the fall did something to your thinking." "That's a lie," I whispered. "He says he just wants to protect you." I laughed, bitter and low. Protect me. He left me in a hospital with no ride home and a bag of donated clothes. She shifted again, looking guilty now, but the damage was already pulsing through me. I thought maybe you should know, she added before it's official. My voice cracked. Why tell me? She hesitated. Because he's not the man I married anymore, and maybe I don't want to be the woman who let him become this. I looked at her, really looked. She was thinner, eyes darker, something unraveling under that practiced cold. And in that second, something inside me stirred. Not forgiveness, not trust, but a flicker of use. You want to help? I asked. She nodded slowly. Then prove it. Help me take it all back. She stood uncertain, then said, call me when you're ready. And just like that, she walked out, leaving behind more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. There was a crack in the wall now, and I planned to wedge it wide open. They thought I'd crawl back, that a few fake apologies and forced smiles would erase 12 years of being their maid, nanny, nurse, and doormat. But I didn't. I took that money and built a life they'll never touch. I bought a quiet little home 2 towns over, where no one rolls their eyes when I speak. I hired a private chef just because I can. And when David called, pretending to check on me, I told him, the woman you kicked out doesn't live here anymore. I'm done being their convenience. I'm not their mother, their free help, or their fallback plan. I'm mine now, and I sleep well because I walked away. And they'll never get a second chance to throw me out. That's today's story. If it touched you, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget, share your own life lesson in the comments below.